I thought to myself, if pleasure is free to all and it's accessible to everybody, it doesn't cost anything, if it's unlimited, what around me can be that way? And so I really started, I just really dedicated myself to every day waking up and figuring out, how can I taste pleasure today? How can I see it? How can I smell it? How can I hear it? And I really just really gave myself the luxury, and I really made sure that when I felt like I was being too much or too indulgent or lazy or whatever those things are, to really let myself know I am a being that is meant to feel pleasure. I'm not a being that's meant to just be productive, And so for me, it was really transformative, and I'm able to find pleasure in a lot of things and make a big deal about it. And really, it's when you witness somebody choosing pleasure, you realize, oh shit, there's a choice. And I think that the systems that we live under try to make it very hard for us to realize that we have choices.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to episode 430. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have an incredible and super fun conversation with Crystal. She's been exploring non-monogamy for almost a decade, and over the years, she's tried just about every flavor, from swinging to non-hierarchical, kitchen table poly, and more.
That's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Today, friendship is her primary motivation for exploring non-monogamy, and she and her partner consider themselves to simply be open. You'll have to stick around to see what she means by that.
Stick around for sure. I think one of my favorite meet cute stories is how she and her partner met.
Yes.
So I love this conversation. It is super fun. And Crystal also comes from a heavy evangelical background and has been on a journey undoing the sexual shame and religious trauma through community, pleasure, non-monogamy, kink, and also through her work.
Yes, Crystal also does amazing work as a sex therapist who primarily works with non-monogamous folks. As you heard at the start of the show, she's incredibly passionate about pleasure, and she loves doing pleasure-based work at the intersections of sexual shame and religious trauma. You can find more about Crystal's work over on her website, which is linked in the podcast show notes on our website and in your podcast player.
And if you were just thinking, wow, I wish Crystal would do a workshop on how I could lead a pleasure-based life just like she does.
I knew you were thinking that.
I thought they were too. We've got you covered. Crystal actually led our monthly community workshop back in November on that exact topic. So if you would like to check out the recording of the workshop from November and also have access to recordings of all of our past workshops and access to all of our upcoming workshops, you can join our community for less than $10 a month by clicking on the community tab of our website over at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. And if you want to see a list of all of the workshops that have been in the past and are upcoming, you can click on the events tab and you'll see information for the workshops there. They're all listed out with all of the instructors. And yeah, check it out.
After the interview, Crystal also sticks around for our new bonus questions that are available for our premium subscribers. As a quick reminder, our premium subscribers get access to the ad-free podcast feed and access to the new bonus questions we started at the beginning of this year. The bonus question episodes are 10 to 15 minutes long and are just an opportunity for us to get to know our guests a little deeper.
Yeah, today with Crystal, we actually talk about some unfulfilled items on her fantasy list. She tells the story of getting caught by another couple while fooling around at a bar, and she shares her views on porn and more. So definitely stick around for the premium subscription, or again, go sign up.
To listen, join the premium subscription by going over to our website and scrolling down on the homepage. There you can sign up for just $4 a month. And now, normally we jump into the premium subscription for our premium subscribers, but we're mixing it up today.
That's right. We're skipping our normal announcements so we can build a bit on what Crystal was saying at the beginning of the show about pleasure being a choice, and that the systems and world we live in make it really hard to remember that this is a choice. This has been a big theme in Emma and I's lives over the last year or so, and it has really been challenging for both of us to embrace what at times feels like an undeserved indulgence, is something that Crystal's going to talk about today as well. Mm-hmm. And this was also the main inspiration for the vision of our next in-person retreat coming up in just a few months on May 1st to the 3rd. It's called Relationship Recess. You've heard us talk about it quite a bit over the last few months, but we wanted to dig into it a little bit here because we wondered what would happen if we designed an entire weekend dedicated to using the power of games and play to strengthen our relationships with our partners, with our friends, with our families, and probably most important of all, with ourselves. I know personally for myself, taking time for myself to let go and play like this is actually really hard work.
We've rented a massive 13-bedroom house on a 10-acre lakeside estate between Orlando and Tampa, Florida. It's not even really a house. It's kind of more of a water park combined with an arcade, combined with an over-the-top playground for adults. It's a little ridiculous.
It's a little bit much.
We're also partnering with Emily Dedeker and Jace from the Multi-Amory podcast and our friend Gary Ware, who's a strategic play consultant, to create professionally led play shops and activities designed to build resilience, foster lifelong friendships, and deepen our connection to ourselves.
There's no pressure to perform or be anyone other than yourself this weekend. It's an invitation to get lost inside yourself and an openness to go beyond your comfort zone and a willingness to play within the moment. And maybe you don't want to do any of those organized games or things we were just talking about, and you'd rather just come, eat some delicious food, sit in the hot tub, float down the lazy river, canoe on the lake, lay in a hammock, or watch a movie in the private movie theater. You could do that too. The weekend is yours.
There's a lot of really fun stuff.
And that wasn't even all the stuff. I ran out of breath. I couldn't keep going.
We would absolutely love to have you come join us. Tickets are on sale now, and you can grab yours and learn more by clicking on the banner at the top of our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com.
And one quick note, all of the rooms in the house are booked, but we have discounted rates on blocks of rooms at 2 nearby hotels, so you can still stay with our group even if you're not staying in the house proper.
And now, let's jump into the interview with Crystal. Welcome to the podcast, Crystal. We're excited you're here today. We've been having a little bit of tech issues, excited to land and finally get going for the second time.
Yes. Second time's a charm, hopefully.
Yes. And I know we're popping your podcast cherry, so thank you for being here.
That's right. Yes, I'm excited. Thanks for having me and for popping my cherry, my podcast cherry. Please be gentle and communicative. Thank you.
We will. We'll be super gentle. We're super excited to have you here today. And, astute listeners might notice that you are the facilitator for our community workshop back in November. So if anybody wants to go back and listen after today, if you're feeling inspired, Crystal's workshop was on how to lead a pleasure-based life. And you can find recordings of all of our workshops are in our community. So you can join the community and get them. But today, we're going to talk to you and hear all about you and your story and your life. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. I'm not used to talking about me. Usually I'm talking about the work.
Perfect. Well, we'll ease into it. Maybe we just start with just a short introduction of who you are and maybe something you're excited about today.
Yeah. So my name is Crystal Baldwin. As Emma have already mentioned, I've done a workshop last month with you guys. I'm a licensed sex therapist, and my practice works pretty much solely with non-monogamy. I think it's really important for myself to prioritize our own community because, I think it takes a lot of training, a lot of community, a lot of work to really be able to meet a client where they are, understand where they're coming from, and have that lived experience. So I work a lot with triads, polycules, non-traditional relationships. And I work with individuals, mainly with queer folks. And I do my bread and butter. The work I really love to do is pleasure-based work and the intersection of sexual shame and religious trauma.
Yeah, there's not much of that in our country. So I don't know how you're finding
Not at all.
How do you find anybody to work with these days?
It's barren out there, let me tell you.
Yeah, just amazing. And I'm curious for you personally, I know you've kind of mentioned non-monogamy is obviously part of your work and a little bit of part of your life. I'm curious, what does your relationship structure look like today, and how is non-monogamy a part of your world as it stands here at the end of 2025?
Yeah. So I have been practicing non-monogamy on and off since 2017-ish. And I've kind of practiced it all kinds of ways, from kitchen table non-hierarchy to just swinging to in between. I would say right now where I am, my relationship structure, I'm in what I just call an open relationship. the job I do can be a lot mentally and emotionally. And so for me, what's really been important for me is to be honest with myself and curate relationship styles that work for where I am now in my life now. And so for me, I'm really just kind of in a space of trying to give my all to work and my community. So I just still want to have fun, but I don't really have the bandwidth for additional relationships right now. So I like to have spicy time with friends.
Yeah,
I
love it.
love it. Yes.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm curious, you've kind of talked now, you've run the gamut of different
Mhm.
flavors of non-monogamy. And I'm curious what got you interested in it in the first place?
Yeah. So I first got interested in it through, I would say, like a clinical or professional lens. I started my own journey in kink, actually, is how I started. So I was practicing monogamy at the time. I was in a DS dynamic, and I had just begun a year-long certification program to be able to specialize with kink. And at the time, because it was like 2016, it's been a while. So at the time, non-monogamy was also under that umbrella. And I was actually really excited about it because in full disclosure, I did have a bias toward non monogamy at the time. I hadn't really been exposed to it. It was still like very on the fringe. And just with my background, I come from a heavy evangelical background. So it was quite the eye opener to even learn about non monogamy. So a part of my goal for the certification program I did, and it was over a year. I mean, it was intense. One of my goals was to challenge that bias, because I didn't think it was fair to have a bias without knowing anything about it. So I was actually really excited to be honest and dig in and challenge myself. And it just so happened that at the time I was on dating apps, and this person really wanted to go on a first date, and they had mentioned that they were non-monogamous and that they had a spouse. And I was very resistant at first, but I figured he was pretty persistent, not in a weird way, but in he was like, give me a chance. Let me talk to you about this. And so I was like, you know what? Why not? I'm already in a space of challenging my biases. Let me go ahead. And I went on a date with this person, and we ended up dating. That was my first relationship, and I ended up really liking it. It really
Yeah.
brought a lot of things to me that were unexpected.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was your first non-monogamous relationship because previously you had been in
Right.
monogamous relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what were your biases coming in that you were trying to challenge?
Yeah. So I think it was the things we always hear, right? So
Uh-huh.
those things of how can you really love that person if you're loving someone else? Or how can that be your partner if you're attracted to other people? Just kind of feeding into that fairy tale trope of this is romantic love. It is at the top of all relationships, and it is all encompassing. And if it's not in this tiny, narrow box, then it's not legitimate. So I think I definitely was raised in that kind of culture and didn't really challenge it until I knew that people were challenging it, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I find it interesting too because it sounds like you were already experiencing and exploring kink, which is already pushing back on a whole lot of, societal scripts and norms that the non-monogamy piece still comes up as like a a challenge, I guess, in some ways. I find that really interesting.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely humans are so fascinating, right? I'm over here 2016 me. How can you have three partners? Please flog me, daddy.
What was what was your exposure to kink?
So I did not even start that until I turned 30. I actually like to blow up my life in a good way. I've done it twice now. And it's been great every time. So I was in a long-term relationship pretty much since I was 18. I settled down very early. Like I mentioned, I come from pretty extreme evangelical school, church, very much like cult type of stuff. So at 18, I uh, left the church. Definitely it wasn't for me anymore. But I think I still had a lot of that conditioning of you need to find one of the highest things you can do as a woman is find a partner, right? And start a family. I never wanted kids. I've always been very, very open about that. And I never wanted marriage, but I did kind of, I cohabitated very quickly with this person, and we were together for almost 11 years. So I didn't really start exploring things like this for myself until I turned 30. my ex and I are very good friends to this day, deepest of friends. I call him my polyintimate. I would say, if people are familiar with that, Jessica Fern's work, that really is how that person fits into my life. And honestly, I think I'd always kind of had a spirit for non-monogamy and just didn't realize it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
anyone not familiar with that term, can you explain it a little bit, what it means to you?
Sure. So it is a little bit vague and it can kind of be along the lines of a queer platonic relationship. So it's this idea of this person has been in my life more than anyone else besides my mom. This person has known me for forever. They know my family. They deeply know everything about me. Best friend doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it touches that level of closeness and that level of commitment and that level of family, I would say.
Mhm.
So that's kind of what is meant by polyintimate. So you don't have to be in a sexual relationship with this person. It usually is like something deeper than friends, but not romantic.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that you were able to make that transition over time. But I'm curious, back when you were 30, what happened then?
Yeah. So I dove right in. I immediately got a Fed account and I was so naive, right? I had never been on a dating app, like nothing. And I found myself on Fed. And so I started talking to people and I started with online DS stuff just to kind of dip my toe in, see how things felt. And definitely got some sub frenzy. I think a lot of people thought of that. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, it's kind of like limerence, but for submission when you're doing that kind of thing.
Okay.
Because the brain does flood with chemicals that can alter our perception.
So like a subspace version of NRE sort of vibe.
Yeah,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did eventually end up dating some people and getting into a DS dynamic. It was really transformative. I ended up more on the dominant side of things. Like now I can't even I can't even like imagine that part of me. Seems so different now, so far away. I don't really practice BDSM anymore these days. I'm more into like group spicy stuff as I evolve. But I definitely found such a love for the therapeutic nature that is power play and power exchange. And just it creates such a deep intimacy and pushes boundaries in ways that I had never experienced before. It was really transformative.
Yeah, that's amazing. We've heard similar things from other guests we've had, and just in some of the readings too, like the deep healing and work that we can do through the play, through the power dynamics, or not even if there are power dynamics, just
Mhm.
through the experiences in kink and BDSM are just incredibly powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And so I'm curious, how long were you sort of in the world of kink before you're kind of signing up to challenge your biases around monogamy and non-monogamy?
I mean, it was pretty brief. I think it was probably under a year between
Okay.
those two things. Yeah. I found my way to non-monogamy pretty quickly.
So the bubble around age 30 was like a very big transformation. It was kink, it was
Oh, yeah.
ending a 12 year relationship or transitioning it, bringing kink in, looking at non-monogamy. It sounds like,
Going on dates with this
yeah,
first person that was non-monogamous.
Yeah. Still think fondly of him. Shout out.
yeah.
Um, definitely. And also I moved out of state, just a PA, but I did move
Mhm.
and I started a new job. My whole life was different. Yeah, it was definitely an era of saying yes and exploring, which I hadn't really done before in a way
Yeah.
that I wanted to.
Yeah, would you be open to like talking a little bit about this? I find it again interesting from a perspective that, I mean, Emma and I did something very similar at age 30. Blew up our entire lives, walked away from our careers, basically restructured everything in our lives. And I'm curious for you, what drove that? What was your motivator?
I think so. I was kind of struggling with depression a little bit. That happens for me on and off. And I think I was just definitely, I was at a job that was extremely, extremely hard. A lot of my work prior to being a sex therapist was in sexual trauma. And I worked a lot with survivors of human trafficking, sexual assault, and intimate partner violence. So that tends to wear on the soul.
Yeah.
um, when you see every day what people can do to each other and the systems that uphold that. So I definitely wasn't in a good space, and I was feeling like I wasn't living my life, like it was gray. And I had to ask myself, I've been pouring into my job, like, what do I want? And honestly, like, I knew I was a kinky bitch since I was 6 years old. I have a specific memory. And most kinky people will tell you, like, I remember exactly when we were playing this game and then I got tied up and things like that. For me, shout out to Jasmine from Aladdin. Hey, if you know, you know. But I did a lot of reflecting, and I remember having this moment with myself. I was in my car on my lunch break, and I was in the parking garage, and I was just thinking to myself, if I don't change something now, I'm going to drown, and I won't be living my life anymore. I'll just be going like this till the end of time, not really feeling anything. And so I decided, like, when I turn 30, I'm going to choose me, and I'm going to take a huge risk. And I will always remember that moment. And I'm so grateful to myself then, because it took a lot to do that. And as you all know, that you've done it too. I love that.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It is very terrifying.
And
yeah.
liberating at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Fear and excitement tend to feel the same in the human body. So it's always fun to see which one it is.
Right.
Yeah. Same coin, different sides often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Wow. Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm curious too. So what kind of happens next? Of like, you go down, you blow up your life, move, start a new job, get starting more exploring kink. You do that for a little bit, then you start exploring non-monogamy and have that first relationship. And then what?
Yeah. So I had a few other ones after that. What I did run into, and I think we all, like, this is a pretty common topic in non-monogamy. I often had found myself in like the secondary partner position. I actually really loved that. And I still to this day really, really enjoy that space in a polycule for various reasons. But I was running into issues where, kind of that thing of, I don't want you to date. The thought of that, it'll be hard for me, that kind of thing. And so, unfortunately, that first relationship had to end because they weren't really comfortable with me. It was there was some hypocrisy, unfortunately. So, but, worked through it, ended well. And so I found somebody else that I had met on the apps, and I had a little bit of a hoe summer. Went to my first club, That was such an experience. And that I fell in love with that the very minute I walked into a club. So I had a few that summer. And then I did get back together with an ex who was monogamous. So I entered back into my monogamy, which was definitely a change, after experiencing something else. So I did that for a couple years.
Okay.
Was it back with the ex that you were with 11 years, or was it somebody different?
No, it was someone different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to talk a little bit about you threw out some words in there that I think were probably triggering to people when you said secondary, because if anybody's familiar with the current state of conversations around non-monogamy and hierarchy, people are having a moment around this. And to hear you say, like, you love the position of being in a secondary role. And I'm curious, can you talk a little bit about what that looked like for you, and also like what like works about that for you?
Yeah. So I guess it's important to know that my motivations, where I'm at right now and where I've kind of landed, my motivations for continuing to practice non-monogamy actually aren't rooted in sex or romance. They're rooted in friendships.
Mm-hmm.
And when I said earlier that I always had a non-monogamous spirit, I just wasn't aware. When I look back at my life, I can see that because I've prioritized my friendships more than past partners. I have a history of doing that. And, oftentimes it got me into like conflict with past partners, and, because society tells me that's what I should be doing. I shouldn't be doing, prioritizing my friends and all of that. So for me, I really enjoyed the secondary position because I didn't have to be as much to that person. I didn't have to do life with that person and the really hard things, And I think definitely for a lot of my life, I've really chosen to do life with my besties. I have a twin who's not a biological twin, but like a cousin twin, if you know what I mean. Like, yeah, like I have a very, very tight circle, and so for me, it really fit into my life because I got to choose. I don't have to live with you. I don't have to escalate, and I don't have to do life with you, but we can still have fun and we can still have a connection, you know?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we can still care about each other. We can like there's depth and warmth. It's
Yeah.
not this sort of emptiness, but
Mhm.
you're also not sort of I don't know if the right phrasing, but on the hook for everything that comes on, like getting on the escalator and riding it to the top.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is true that when you are a therapist, it does impact your life. It impacts your personal life very greatly. You are holding people's pain, you're holding people's secrets, their sadness, their grief, all of it, their trauma. And so, my bandwidth is different than the average person because of that. And so that's why I'm really an advocate of please do this how it works for you. And there is no right way or ideal way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you talk about the type of work you were doing in your late 20s or in your 20s, like
Yeah.
holding that for geez,
So many people, yeah.
incredible pain and hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely tough.
Yeah. So it sounds like the first maybe couple of years of non-monogamy was sort of like it sounds like more sort of solo poly where you were dating sort of friendships.
I've never used that term for myself. It doesn't
Yeah.
really fit for me because to me, solo poly is the person is at the center, you are at the center, and that's not what I'm communally based first and foremost. So for me, the community, which is my network, they are my center.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. I appreciate the clarification.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that lasted about a year or ish, you said, and then you went to back into monogamy for a little bit. Were you still exploring kink as well?
Yeah, yeah. So I think the reason I lasted lasted as long as I did in monogamy, I think was because that relationship was heavily kink centered, very much so. And so I was getting needs met that kind of, I guess we're good enough for now kind of thing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Because sometimes we can't always have everything that we really desire. It takes time and has to be the right setting and place.
Yeah.
But it was a little tough though, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a little bit of the once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's kind of hard to you can't put it back in. You can't unsee what you've seen.
Yeah, yeah. And just so interesting that I just having a different perspective, right? Like once you try non-monogamy and if you do end up liking it, your perspective is just it's changed. And so I did start to notice when I went back into monogamy, I would notice jealousy more. I would notice possessiveness more. I would notice expectations of time defaulting to my partner, things like that, that I didn't know about before. And I don't know if you guys experienced that, like as you move through non-monogamy, your eyes are just kind of open to these things that we never questioned before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the defaults are so common that you just touched on, right? That we assume, right, it's a Friday night, we assume that's ours, right? We
Mhm.
assume it's a weekend, it's ours. We just make lots of assumptions about our time, about our activities, what we're doing. And yeah, if you've been exploring non-monogamy, even for just a year, in sort of I think in really any fashion, you have to start negotiating these things in ways that you really haven't probably in
Mhm.
most monogamous dynamics.
Definitely. Yeah, completely agree. The conversations are different. How you talk to each other is different. Privacy is different. Everything is different.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Some days I would just say some days for us, I want to just be like, can we just have one thing be easy? I don't
Right.
want to
Yeah.
have to think. I
Right.
don't want to have to think extra today. Can we just do the default way? No, we can't. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I know. If only we had the on off, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, sometimes I crave that too.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's so human, right? And I think it would be I think people would be in the minority who would say they don't miss some things about monogamy, like especially the easy mode part and also just how your family interacts with you and your friends and society.
Yeah.
I think that can really weigh on us too sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I mean, based on what you told us about where you're at today, it sounds like you found your way back to non-monogamy
Oh
after
yeah.
this. So I'm curious how you found your way back in and what flavor, what did it look like at that point?
Well, so I had taken some time to myself. That relationship that we were talking about ended, and I really wanted to focus on me. It's so funny. Like looking back in my life, I never really somehow didn't really internalize like truly feel that my romantic partner should be my everything. So that relationship had ended. And I really wanted to focus on me for a minute. I really wanted to, I moved back to Maryland. I really wanted to have a closer connection with my friends again, make new friends. I bought a house and I opened up my own practice. And I'm a first generation college student. So this was a huge deal. All of these things were huge deals for me. So I really invested in myself for a little bit and really worked on healing whatever I needed to heal. And then I was ready to kind of go back out there. And I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do that, how I was kind of going to feel it out. So I didn't go into dating with this idea of here's exactly the style I want. I knew I wanted non-monogamy, but I was very open to what kind because I've always been kind of fluid with that. So my friend who is also a colleague, I will not name names, but she knows who she is. Shout out. She actually gave me a good D recommendation, which is what I was looking for.
Different D from the DS, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. I was looking for multiple things, but all spicy in nature. I wanted to have fun, I had worked really hard and I really just wanted to like live colorfully. I was really ready to just go out. And so my friend, she had met my current partner at a party. And this is how I got back into non-monogamy. She saw my current partner. She saw him at this party. This party was a birthday bukkake.
As you do.
As one does. Absolutely. So at this bukkake, my colleague saw my now partner having group sex with someone. And let's just say the work was impressive. And so she ended up dating him for a while. And then she was kind of saturated at the time. And so that kind of fizzled out. And so she had given me his information and told me a little bit about this person. And so I went on a date and our first date lasted 7 hours. We were just talking and talking and talking about relationships. And I'm Morticia Adams at heart. So I like horror movies and gothy girl things. And so we talked a lot about that. And then I ended up inviting him to my first gangbang on our first date. Yeah, I love our origin story. So I kind of entered back in with that and have been doing it ever since in various ways.
So you had been planning your first gangbang, it sounds like, and then he
Yeah.
happened to come along, and you're like, you felt comfortable.
Got room for
enough.
one more.
Yeah, yep. Applications are still being accepted.
I also want to just say I love a friendship where your friends are like, hey, I was at this party, which by the way, birthday bukkake is a great alliterative way, a great theme for your birthday.
Correct.
Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely. I'm sad I missed it. I didn't know about this at the time.
But you have friends that are like, hey, I was with this person for a little bit. I think you'd have a great time. Like, I love the communal aspect of there isn't ownership. There isn't competitive. It's not even like, okay, this one's mine or, okay, I'm done. It's just like, hey, still a great person. We're just not together, but I think you guys would get along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that's something really special. It does. I think sometimes I have had monogamous friends ask me, like, doesn't it bother you that your friends have fucked your partner? And I'm like, no, like, I'm happy they got to experience that. Like, it's quite the skill. Like, absolutely. But I think that's a little too much sometimes for monogamous minded people to grasp.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm curious to similar along those same lines. Is there, I don't know the right way to ask it, but the idea that, okay, they've done that, they're not doing it anymore. There's a reason they're not. I mean, I'm just like looking at this because I think people easily go to the fear place. Like, well, if they did, they're just going to be doing it behind your back, or there's all sorts of like fears. But to me, it just seems very logical. You're like, well, no, they did. They came to a natural conclusion, and now they aren't. Like, what am I worried about?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I also know that my logic doesn't always work for everybody. So I just disclaimer on that.
Neither does mine. It's completely okay.
I think it depends a lot on, on your background and
Yeah.
what experiences you've had too. They obviously
For sure.
color everything.
For sure.
But I mean, I agree. Like, I think society also pounds it into us that should be a problem.
Absolutely. Yes. It's been really, I feel like I've been in this for years now and going on a decade almost. Wow. And I still am unpacking things every day, and I tell my clients that too, like, because I think we can get really hard on ourselves. Like, we want to be the cool, chill poly person that doesn't get jealous and has no issues or insecurities. That's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
that's nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think, really having grace with myself has been important. And it's allowed me to also like help my clients teach themselves how to have grace, because we all are going to have moments like that of insecurity or uncertainty.
Yeah.
But yeah, always unpacking the narratives, the monogamous narratives.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that, because I can imagine just a minute ago when I was like, yeah, why don't people be logical like me or you? And I've also want to acknowledge too, right? That logic is there. And also what actually goes on emotionally when you're in the situation and the logic don't always line up, right? We can
Oh,
logically
yeah.
know, yeah, they're not going to do this or that, but then like you can still freak out and have those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we should normalize that and maybe talk about that a little bit more so it's not so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's a great opportunity. It sounds like it's still a thing for you as well, that
Yeah.
you touched on it, where in your first dynamic there was an imbalance, some hypocrisy of they could go out and do things, but if you did, it caused problems. But it sounds like you've also come against your own struggles with maybe jealousy or other, we'll call them tougher emotions, that I think is great to normalize.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have my insecurities just like everybody else does. Sometimes it's not always like easy to see my partner with other people. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's neutral, sometimes it's difficult. And sometimes there's no rhyme or reason as to why it's difficult. It could just be I'm in a moment that day. It could be so many things. But definitely had some struggles with that. And also struggles communicating that. And I know, like, as therapists, we are supposed to be, the healthy communicators and the effective communicators. And we can be, but we're also human.
Mhm.
And so our emotions are going to cloud our abilities sometimes. And so definitely, I think I've struggled even more with when I am struggling to communicate and admit that, because it can be really hard, because I also struggle with that. I want to be the chill, like deep down, I want to be the chill person. And so I'm really trying to work on that. I think it's long-term work, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I love you say that too, because I think it's important to remember, or I guess for me, when I'm looking to somebody that I'm like, wow, I look up to this person, maybe they're great at something, but knowing that they also struggle with that same thing that I see them be good at, because it's the analogy often that I use is like, somebody who's like amazing swimmer, and you're like, well, can you teach me to swim? They're like, oh, well, you just be good at it. Like, I've just always been good. Why don't you just be good? And it's like,
Right.
versus like, oh yeah, no, I had to work my ass off and I struggle and I fall down and I have to get back up over and over. So you can actually have a real conversation about how do we get better, versus, well, I don't know, you just be good.
Right, exactly. And I think it's so important that we build our non-monogamous communities, wherever everybody is located. I think it's really important because, we can definitely get support from the monogamous people in our lives. They can be really helpful, really loving, but there are some blind spots there, right? That they don't have that personal experience about. And it can feel really disorienting when you're feeling insecure or jealous or, whatever the case may be. It can definitely feel disorienting and shameful even sometimes. And so I think it's really important that we have those people who have our backs, but also are in it with us too. And can validate when it's needed, can check us when it's needed.
Yeah, people who aren't necessarily in the dynamic or invested in it. They're your friend, they're your support, they're your community around you. They're not in the relationship.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the more that we talk to each other about these tougher moments, the less stigmatizing they'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, to hear your friends, like
Yeah.
5 different friends be like, "Oh, yeah, I've been there. Oh, yeah, I was crying on the floor one night at the club." Like, whatever the
Yes.
thing was to be like, "Oh, no, okay, that wasn't just me. I'm not the only one." Well, that's really nice to hear.
Right, right. My messy chronicles. We've all written a chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious with this partner that you're with now, so you've been with for a few years. Kind of how has that relationship gone? Like how has it
Yeah,
shifted over time or changed or what? Yeah. How's it
yeah.
gone?
It has shifted over time. We started in non-hierarchical polyamory, and I guess, like, I wasn't the nesting partner, so I'll use that instead of, like, secondary, primary. And so it felt very familiar to me at first. I was like, "Yes." Like, I really like this. I have, more free time. It allows me more free time. So it worked really well. I think also this person had met me when my practice was just a few years old, and so I was still kind of newer in working mainly with non-monogamy. And, as y'all know, since 2020, times have been
Yes.
unprecedented.
Yes. To say the
Um,
least.
yeah, yeah, and, for us therapists, the work looks totally different now, completely different than how it looked prior to COVID, and everything that has come after. So we were doing that, and, as the therapeutic work for me was shifting and my business was growing, I really just found that I was struggling with the emotional bandwidth, because I would work with people around negotiations and boundaries and things like that all day, and then have to do it after work when I didn't
with
have the
with
most
your
to give.
partner. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And while it's not that I mind doing that, it's that I didn't have enough spoons. I didn't have enough energy, Like I found myself not being able to show up the way that I wanted to. And it just so happened that at this time, my partner's other relationship was winding down, and they ended up separating. And during that time, that was the opportunity to talk to each other about, what do we want this to look like? What do we want to try? Where are we at? And I was very honest with my partner. Like, I'm not showing up the way that I want to. I can't manage both of these things at once where I am right now. So what I can offer is, let's have fun. Let's do that. What are your thoughts on that? And so my partner ended up being on board with that and said, like, honestly, like, they kind of were leaning that way anyway inside. Because my partner is in residency, so he has no life. Like, his life is at the hospital. So, like, we're very busy and very, like, my job is emotionally draining. So I think it just works. It works right now because we're having fun. We're prioritizing events and clubs. Like, we travel. We went to Hito twice. We're going back. So we're doing things like that. But so the shift was pretty big, even just in this relationship itself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's amazing, and it sounds like at the same time that you made a shift to, I don't wanna say close, but to, like, change the structure,
Hmm.
did you also brought probably with you a lot of the ideas, ideologies, mindsets of sort of the way you were open. And I'm just curious, you've touched on some of the things that were important to you around, possessiveness and jealousy, or I don't, maybe jealousy doesn't fit in there, but like the possessiveness, the autonomy, all of those things that were really important to you. Were you two able to bring those in as you made the shift towards kind of focusing on play rather than emotionally invested in other partnerships?
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes, like, with the structure we currently have, some of those things aren't an opportunity to practice as
Hmm.
much,
Hmm.
but they're still there. And so, yeah, I think we definitely still we have conversations about how we're feeling. We talk a lot and we check in. I think what we do now, and I actually really like this approach, we decided to take things as they come. So instead of saying, like, this is the type we have and this is what we do and this is what you do and what I do and that's it. We've made the structure. Instead of that, we're building the house as we're living in it. And, so if something new comes along, we both agree, okay, we're going to try this. Like, we agree that you're going to try me or whatever the situation is. We'll take a risk and try something new and then talk to each other. How does it feel? How did this feel safe? Did it feel comfortable? Do you want to do that again? And so for me, I think I think honestly for women, it's really good to be able to know that you're not committing to something forever. I have noticed that in my women clients specifically, this fear of if I agree to this structure or this setup, or if I agree to this sex party, whatever it may be, it's off to the races. Once I say yes, it's off to the races. And I think that I was feeling some of that the way I had done it prior, right? Which I had walked into people's polycules prior.
Mhm.
I was building my own for the first time. I was building this open relationship for the first time because I, had it kind of handed to me beforehand. And
Mhm.
so it was, I'm still learning. Like it's a journey, but I really do think there's value in you don't have to commit to an agreement forever or always or from here on out. You can definitely say, let's try something, come back and see how it feels.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that you brought that in, because it is a common fear, that, once I say yes to any XYZ, there's no turning back. There's no like, "Hey, this is hard," or "I need to slow down."
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I do think, we definitely have a culture that is not for consent and doesn't understand consent. And when we see consent in the media, it's very, I would say, boiled down to basics. We don't have like in depth conversation about it, but it's really important that consent is ongoing and revocable completely. And so I
Mhm.
do think setting up the structure this way, where we're building it as we live in it rather than building it and then moving in, this has really like helped my journey as well with consent and speaking up and those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. The idea of right, like, to use your house analogy, that you've built some house together, and then one of you can be like, "Oh, hey, I was thinking about a back porch," and the other one isn't.
Mhm.
We said we were never going to put a porch on this thing. What are you doing? But like, oh well, let's I don't know. Let's put one on and see if we like it, and if not, we can always tear it off and try something different.
Yeah, yeah, there was such relief that came with that
Yeah.
for me, like such relief. And honestly, the relief kind of lowered the fear, right? And when I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I'm feeling a lot of fear, I can't feel my desires. I can only feel avoid fear, right? Like skip out on that. And so for me, the relief really brought an opportunity to dive into what I desired and start dreaming and then going
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is very relatable.
Yeah. Yeah.
That all I can see is the fear.
Yeah, yeah. It takes over, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and you're like, "Wait, what? I have desires? I don't know what those are right now
Right.
because 'cause
No,
I'm
I
so"
don't.
right, because 'cause I'm so wrapped up in this fear, damn it, like yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Who gives a fuck about desires? We're dying.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Survival. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, and I can see too how when you were stepping into other people's polycules or relationships where you were sort of the secondary, I can see how you were sort of creating that for yourself in those dynamics. You were sort of taking control of it and being like, I'm going to try this out. I'm not, quote unquote, invested in it to the point that I'm committing to things. So like you kind of said, I don't have to give it everything. So you could step out at any point if you wanted to. I mean, not that it would necessarily be easy, but it seems like a different level of building a home. It was maybe more like a trailer that you were driving around an RV or something like that. You could pull it in and try it out, but you weren't necessarily like building a foundation with those connections.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's definitely easier to end relationships in that structure in the position I was in, right? Like there's no legality, there was no cohabitation, no kids, family, all that. So yeah, it definitely does make it easier, but there's hurt and there's grief when non-nesting relationships end. I think we all can attest to that in this
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It can
Yeah.
be hard and it's important that we give room for that and honor that grief process.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. I didn't mean to minimize the
Oh, no,
the
you're
the
good.
the
It's factually
impact.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. Yeah, I could leave relatively easy. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that is I like that actually.
Yeah.
simply because I like to, again, I don't prioritize romantic partnerships above everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe the complication is less. It's easier to separate, and that doesn't mean the emotional part is easy.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yes.
Yeah. I'm also curious, Crystal, how has it gone sharing with people in your life, your community, your family, friends about like the shift as you've gone through life into exploring more kink and non-monogamy and working with non-monogamous clients?
Yeah. So, I think growing up in it was Pentecostal environment,
Mhm.
like a very extreme, the speaking in tongues and all that. It very intense. And I wasn't ever really able to be me or admit to myself certain things that I was questioning or wanting. And so I think when I deconstructed and deconverted, I really wanted to commit to myself to be real. What do I want, I think honestly, like, I desensitized people in my life because I'm a sex therapist. So, like, as I was training, I was like, "Did you know blah blah blah?" And I would just all day be sending pervy facts to everyone in my life. Because I love sex, I love to talk about it, I love to learn about it. And so I think just me being me eventually desensitized some of my more conservative, not in the political sense, but
Mhm.
conservative as far as like talking about sex. I think I've definitely desensitized people in my life. But I think I will say one thing that definitely was a struggle for me in my own non monogamy community was this concept of when my partner and I shifted from, non hierarchy poly to open. Because often, almost always from my experience personally and clinically, I don't really see people narrow it. I see them open it more.
Mhm.
There is no right or wrong, right? So it's not about right or wrong, but it's interesting. And I do wonder, do people feel permission to narrow if they need to? Not
Yeah.
close all the way, but narrow and widen and narrow and widen. Do people give themselves permission to ask for that or explore that? But it was tough to share with my non-monogamous friends that this is where the relationship is. I was worried I was going to get judged, questioned, because I had never seen a narrowing before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that I would say that was probably the hardest part.
Mhm. Did you receive that? Like, how was it received?
It was received with so much love. So much love, because really that fear was all coming from me, like,
Yeah.
I think it was my own insecurities. Am I accepting what I'm doing? Because I haven't really seen this in my personal life yet of choosing to narrow it a little bit. So I think I definitely was projecting out that fear.
Yeah.
But my friends came through, my community came through, and let me know that it is not a crime to restructure your relationship.
Yeah.
um, so that was really helpful. They helped me get my head and heart where it needed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Another shot.
it is not a crime to restructure your relationship in any
No.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I'd rather people do that than force a shape that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I think that's the ticket, right? Is finding what works, right? Because I don't know, I often think, there's times where we find ourselves trying, we're way out over our skis, trying to fulfill some type of what we think is an expectation. Like, well, if you're not monogamy, it has to look like this. And so you're doing things that your life can't support because you think you have to,
Hmm.
but you really can't do them. The other people aren't feeling good. You're not feeling good, but you're theoretically doing it in the right way. But it's, maybe destroying your life, destroying somebody else's, or at least causing a whole lot of hurt
Mhm.
that could be maybe sidestepped if we just said, well, that structure isn't right for me at the moment.
Yeah. At the moment, I think is key, right? Because
Yeah.
that can
Yeah.
shift and change over life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I leave room for that, right? Because if I wanted that willingness and openness to changing it the first time, it needs to be the second time as well, and the third time, or however many times. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like back to the house analogy, you can show up at any point and say, hey, what if we put a huge old addition on it, or a second unit in the backyard, or whatever it is. Like
Mhm.
we've sort of ideally built some of the skills and the tools to have those conversations, talk about it and figure out how to start to make any shifts that we need to make based on where we're both at or where everybody in the dynamic is at.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the key to this is to not feel shame about needing different things.
Yeah.
I will say, for me in transparency, that is probably the hardest thing and that I struggle with these days, like admitting, yeah, this isn't working for me. I have to deliver disappointing news and that sucks and I don't want to do it. But right now, it's just, I have to be honest, or maybe it's something that I really do want and it's like making me uncomfortable to admit that I have this desire. So I think definitely shaking off shame is a big thing and
Yeah.
really helps facilitate conversations about the structure and what works for us in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, and you touched on earlier in this conversation, and we also know because we had you do a workshop on pleasure, but like you've talked about how you focus a lot on pleasure and sort of an ethic of pleasure. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit more about like what that looks like for yourself and how you kind of found your way there. And I'm also curious about the tie into that around shame, because I'll say for myself, shame is the thing that often gets in my way of being able to do things that I find pleasurable for a whole host of reasons.
Yeah.
Usually shame is saying you don't deserve it, it's not for you, or some twist on that.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the short of it is when I was focusing on myself and I wasn't dating or anything like that, and I was really working on trying to heal what I needed to heal and really give myself permission to once again explore like what do I want. And so part of this process was I agreed to myself I'm going to read X amount of books that are on my list that I've been putting off. And one of the books that I read is called Pleasure Activism. It's by Adrienne Marie Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all have read it. Life changing work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Life changing work. I am the biggest fan, oh my God, of their work. So I think for me, reading that book, well, I actually listened to it. And for anyone who's listening on your show, I would recommend the audiobook
Same.
because
I would
yeah,
recommend it. Yeah. It's incredible. Adrian reads it, there's singing, it's like
yes. Oh,
it's a full body experience.
yes, exactly. And it's funny you mentioned that because at the time that was kind of what I was working on was embodiment, feeling my body, feeling emotions in my body, not being afraid to be in this body. And so it was in alignment. I was really in a moment where I was ready to receive this information and apply it. And so this book really inspired me. And I thought to myself, if pleasure is free to all and it's accessible to everybody, it doesn't cost anything, if it's unlimited, what around me can be that way? And so I really started, I just really dedicated myself to every day waking up and figuring out how can I taste pleasure today? How can I see it? How can I smell it? How can I hear it? And I really just really gave myself the luxury, and I really made sure that when I felt like I was being too much or too indulgent or lazy or whatever those things are, to really let myself know I am a being that is meant to feel pleasure. I'm not a being that's meant to just be productive, you know? And so for me, it was really transformative and I'm able, I'm able to find pleasure in a lot of things and make a big deal about it. Because it is important, I
Yeah.
want my day to be filled more of me making a big deal about this dope coffee or this amazing meal or that really cute lady over there.
Yeah.
I really want my days filled of those moments more than the stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think they're infectious
Yeah.
too, in a good way, right? When
Yeah.
if you're really savoring your coffee or the bite of whatever you took, and the people at the table next to you are kind of like looking off the side, like, what? Oh, I guess I could enjoy my coffee the same way. Like we're drinking the same coffee. It can be a reminder to sort of drop into that too for those around you.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, what I did notice, I noticed some people were uncomfortable.
Sure.
And I spent some time exploring, why that is, because I couldn't understand it at first. And really, it's when you witness somebody choosing pleasure, you realize, oh shit, there's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that the systems that we live under try to make it very hard for us to realize that we have choices.
Yeah.
And so I think when somebody is stepping into pleasure and choosing pleasure in that way, it challenges that person who's witnessing that.
Mhm.
And that challenge can be very scary. It can produce fear. And so I also experienced the opposite quite
Mhm.
often, where people didn't quite know how to take me because I really was just indulging in things that were great
Yeah.
and felt good.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I love that you brought up that point too. It's unknown for so many people. I
Yeah.
think that's also the scary part too. It's like, wait, what? There is choice here. And what?
But we
What is
never learned
happening?
that. Yeah.
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 Yeah. But really, I encourage everyone to think about how they can expand their pleasure and how they can fill their lives with it, because it really does. It's like a trickle effect or a ripple effect, really. Like, if you can do it in one area of your life, it just tends to be a strategy that you can pick up on in multiple areas of your life. So even when I'm going through heartbreak or grief or things like that, I still will be able that same day to have at least 1 second where something feels good or relieving or comforting or loving. And I can do that because I put in like this. You have to do it every day until it's a part of you, you know?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I love that too. That reminder, like the repetitiveness, that it takes time to help our systems learn these new things.
Learn that it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also love for you to share a little bit about if people want to work with you, how might they do that and where could they find you and what's the best way?
Yeah, sure. So the best way is through my website. It is echocounselingllc.com, and my contact info is there. You can email me. As far as therapy goes, I am licensed with Maryland clients right now. So you have to be you have to be in the state of Maryland at the time of the session. I do telehealth, so I don't do in-person work at this point, but I also do consultation packages that I put together because I really was like, I really wanted to create a fill where there are gaps in services. Not everybody can afford therapy. Not everybody can go to relationship therapy. Not everybody can do that for various reasons. Sometimes people also may find it intimidating to do that, right? It is a really, really huge deal to go to couples therapy. So I decided to put together packages like I have an opening up package for people that aren't ready or don't, for whatever reason, don't want to access relational therapy as they open their monogamous relationship.
Mhm.
So it's like a dedicated certain number of weeks and then comes to an end and is chock full of resources. So that is not state bound. So consultation packages are anywhere in the world. But for therapy itself, right now, it has to be in Maryland. But I definitely love working mainly. I always prioritize non-monogamous people. that is my absolute passion. So yeah, definitely reach out.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thank you. And links will be in the show notes.
Mhm.
And we have a couple more questions. And then you've also agreed to stick around for some bonus Q&A questions for our premium subscribers. So we'll get to those in just a minute. But I'm just curious because one of the questions we love asking people is about bloopers that they've experienced in their journeys. Sometimes they're sexual, sometimes they're just relational. But I know, having been to enough, clubs and parties and events ourselves, we know they're rife with
Adventure?
adventure and things that we can laugh about. And I'm curious if a blooper comes to mind for you, just to help everybody understand that we don't have to take this all too seriously.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if this is a blooper or just like foolery. um, I one time went on a date with this lovely individual who was from London, and I was saying, "Oh, I can do a really good British accent. Like I mean it though, like I really can." And so I did, and they were like, "That is pretty good." And so somehow, like we ended up making this like competitive agreement that I would talk in a British accent the whole date. So, and I did. And as the date went on, we decided to like go have some spicy time. I continued the accent. And let me tell you, it is really something to be talking dirty or climaxing in an accent that is not yours. It is It is definitely something. So that definitely was some foolery. Um, and and the next day I woke up thinking in an accent because I had done it for so many hours. Uh, so that definitely, that definitely was some foolery and was ridiculous. And
Wow.
we did not have a second date. We did not.
Probably the accent was too good. It was
Yeah,
upstaging them.
yeah.
They didn't want to compete.
Right, right. They told me that if I'm sober, I sound more Kensington, and if as I drank, I sounded more Chelsea. I don't know what that means, but cool.
Cool.
I
Love
will
it.
say, I feel like it's a compliment that you speak it well enough that you can actually, they can actually describe the different dialects that you're pulling in. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay. That's fine." Um, I have that skill, I guess. I don't know.
Well, follow up, how did you learn such a skill?
I did theater for a few years in my teens. I don't know. I think I've just always been dramatic and like goofy and you know, that person. I also have
Yeah.
ADHD, so I'm definitely all over the place all
Yeah,
the time.
I
So I
love
think
it.
it's just naturally in there.
Yeah. I think it's a super bold move for a first date. Like, I think
Yes.
that's fantastic.
But why not? Just
Hmm.
go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I've had so many times where I'm like, "Sure, why not?"
yeah.
Sometimes it works out, not always.
But it's always good for a story.
Yeah, yeah, and they
Oh,
seemed to be
absolutely.
into it that night.
Oh, they
So,
were, yeah.
yeah.
We all were, we had a great time.
Amazing. Wow. I love it. And before we let you go for our standard issue subscribers, our non-premium subscribers, we got to come up with some better words here for our listeners. But do you have any sort of final thoughts or anything you want to shout out into the world while you've got the microphone?
Um, oh god, that's a big moment of yeah, I want to go back to pleasure and shame. I think those definitely are the opposite of each other. And shame grows in secret is what we say in the field. And it's true. And so I really want to encourage people, if you are feeling shame over anything, I promise you that you are not the only person that has felt this, because we are conditioned to feel this. It is not natural that we feel it. We don't have to as much. So I think like really working on not being ashamed to feel shame and work through that is really, really important. And I also really just want to spread the message that pleasure is free, it is unlimited, it is accessible to all, and it is activism. We deserve rest, we deserve pleasure every single day. And I really want people to believe that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that as well. And we'll put links to Adrienne Marie Brown's book in the show notes too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Oh,
Yeah.
love that book.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you again, Crystal, for coming on, for sharing your story, for being not our podcast, our workshop facilitator back in November, and just, yeah, for all the incredible work you do. Just very
Yeah,
grateful.
thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been so fun. Thank you for having me. And I love the work you're doing. Keep it up. It's lovely. I love the workshops. So important.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And just a reminder, Crystal's going to come back and answer some fun bonus questions, maybe even in an accent. We'll see. So, premium subscribers, we'll see you and the bonus content here shortly.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Crystal, for coming on and sharing your story and for all of the amazing work that you do. A quick reminder to everyone listening, you can find more about Crystal's work over on her website, which is linked in the podcast show notes on our website or in your podcast player.
And a huge thank you from my side as well, Crystal. It was wonderful chatting. It was super fun conversation. And thank you as well for hosting our November workshop a couple months ago. So quick reminder to anybody listening who's like, damn, I want some more Crystal in my life. Again, you can check out her work on her website, and you can check out the workshop she did with us. We have it recorded and it is available for all of our community members. You can find out more on how to join that over on the community tab of our website. And while you're there, check out that banner at the top for Relationship Recess.
Yes, Relationship Recess is our next in-person retreat coming up May 1st to the 3rd, 2026.
We told you all about it in the beginning.
We did. So if you missed that, go back and listen.
You missed it. Go listen and then go sign up.
And you can find out, all the information over on our website. And we'd love to see you there.
And next week, we are coming back at you. We've got a really beautiful and really powerful conversation with Joelle. We hope to see you next week, and we also hope to see you in Florida.
Yes. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.